So even my computer clock just turned to 5. So, all right. Good evening and welcome to the October 5th, 2023 Park and Recreation Commission regular video meeting. I am Peter Strzok, Parks and Recreation Commission Chair. Tonight's Parks and Recreation Commission meeting is using video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. The Zoom video of this meeting is being recorded and will broadcast live via Zoom and will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel later this evening. City staff and guests are participating in tonight's meeting remotely. Other public audience members are listening to the meeting by telephone or via the internet. Additionally, the city has opened up the community center to provide public space for viewing and participating in the meeting. Welcome to all, and thank you for joining us tonight. Commissioners, please turn on your microphones, and will the city staff please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Commissioner Hay?
Here.
Commissioner Markson?
Here.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Here.
Commissioner Westberg?
Here.
Vice Chair Burstein?
Here.
Chair Strzok?
Here.
Thank you, Chair.
City staff, is there anyone who has signed up for appearances that wishes to address the commission?
No one has signed up, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no appearances, we'll move on to the first order of business, which is the department report and update, and I welcome Recreation Manager Ryan Daly.
Good evening, commissioners. Allow me to share my screen real quick. All right, let me know if you can see that. All right, I saw some thumbs up. Okay, jumping right in, just a reminder of the City Hall closure. One thing I wanted to update the commission on, or I guess remind the commission as well as the community, is the opportunity to reach out to our customer service team. This team's available from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, except on holidays. And really, I use this group quite a bit, actually. If I run into something that I need our park maintenance crew to get on, or I need to report something, I give them a call and they take care of that for me. They also answer a ton of questions. They have a response rate of about 70% of the calls that come in, they can immediately answer. So it's a great resource for us to be able to use. It's something that was sort of born out of the COVID pandemic and something we've carried forward that greatly supports all of our various city departments. So just wanted to highlight that and encourage anyone in the community who needs to connect with city staff to do so through this, through the customer service team as an opportunity. And that's sort of, you know, as a result of the lack of access to City Hall, this is that opportunity to further connect with city staff as needed. A couple parks and natural resources updates. Our crews are currently testing out electric leaf blowers, battery powered. You can see that in that picture there at the top. And these funds were allocated coming out of the Climate Action Plan adoption. And then you'll also see the picture below that is the Ellis Pond Boardwalk, which got a fresh pressure washing and a stain going into the fall season to help preserve that structure. And it looks awesome. Also, I believe I sent out an email to the Parks Commission informing about the Walsh Group and them utilizing the south parking lot here at Luther Burbank. That's something that occurred last year. We just started to move them in, and they'll be in there until we hit that warmer weather period later in May, and then they move out because we have such an influx of visitors to the park following May and through the summer. We also have had a number of tree removals focused on safety and dead or decaying trees. Those were removed off of city properties and areas within the right-of-way. As you can imagine, those that are dead or decaying, those branches tend to come off and cause all kinds of headaches in the fall season. And so we're getting out in front of that maintenance currently. Also, we have received recently a number of bench donations, so we're working through those. We being the recreation division works with the park maintenance division to refurbish those or replace those benches as desired by donors. And so that's something that is continued. We're going to be pushing out those opportunities to the community. Actually, I just got an email earlier today requesting another one. So those are good opportunities for us to replace some of our fixtures and also meet a community need. We also have some restroom closures at our beaches, being Clark, Groveland, and the Luther Burbank swim area. The restrooms in Luther Burbank near the pickleball court, tennis court is still open and will be as we go through the winter for access. Bike skills area update. Oh, we should all be clapping. We have construction starting out there. The crews from American Ramp Company and Creative Native Concepts arrived on site this week. And they're beginning today, starting to move some material around. Our parks crews unloaded 25 pallets of the different wooden features at the shop today. And we're moving forward with moving that material over to the site at Island Crest Park. The parking lot and the playground access at Dean's will be limited. If you've had a chance to cruise over there, we do have some fencing up that's occupying that area and keeping people out. The playground does remain open, however. And then for additional details, there's the website listed below. I do want to extend an invitation to any parks commissioners who would like to do a site tour out there. Construction will be happening, fingers crossed, quickly as we move forward. And so if you have a desire to go out and check that area out, we'll throw you a hard hat and give you a nice walking tour of that area. We do anticipate that this construction period will be between 6 and 8 weeks. If things go really well and the weather we're having today, I think that's only going to spell good news for us as we go forward. So I'll keep the commission updated as we move forward with this project, and feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to do a site tour out there. Event coming up, the Arbor Day event. Please come celebrate with us, 9:45 a.m. On October 21st here at Luther Burbank Park. We'll be planting a tree to commemorate the opening of the Luther Burbank South Shoreline Trail. If you haven't got a chance to pop down there, today would have been a great day. There's a couple more of these days left here as we go through the next week or so. Get down there and check it out. It looks great. It's a wider trail. It's more accessible. Just a great opportunity for us to expand access to that area. After the commemorative planting, we do encourage people to stick around and volunteer as part of that Arbor Day event and planting down in that area. For additional information, you can go to the Mountains to Sound Greenway website listed below. I'm clicking too many times and it doesn't want to move now. I didn't break it. There we go. Oh, it's the season. I know you've all been thinking about your Halloween costumes. It's been on your mind. You can't decide what you're going to pick, but you still have a couple weeks before our Halloween weekend events, and we're doing the annual trick or treat in Town Center on Friday, October 27th, from 4 to 6 o'clock, and there's a number of local businesses that participate in that. And you can find a map there at the website, mercerisland.gov/MI Halloween. And that map is coordinated by the Chamber of Commerce, and we support that as well from a city standpoint. Excellent opportunity to tour some businesses, get some candy, and see a ton of kids out there in different costumes, kids and adults. I don't want to stress that too much, but let's be thinking about our costumes, commissioners. Additionally, we have the Pumpkin Walk, which is another outstanding event at Mercerdale Park, Sunday, October 29th, from 5 to 8 p.m. We are going to be accepting the carved pumpkins to place out there around the pathway. Awesome opportunity to bring the family out and walk around Mercerdale Park. Additional information is also listed at that same website. And with that, I thank you, and back to you, Commissioner Struck, or Chair Struck, I should say.
Thank you, Ryan. The second item of regular business tonight is to review and consider approving the minutes from the September 7th, 2023 meeting. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 7th, 2023 meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
And a second?
Second. I second that.
Thank you. So we've had a motion by Vice Chair Burstein and a second by Commissioner Markson. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions or comments before we vote on the motion? Hearing none, commissioners, please turn on your microphones, and will the city staff please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you, Chair Struck. Commissioner Markson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Chair Struck,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Westberg.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair.
So the motion passes and the minutes are approved. The third item on the is the Park and Recreation Commission bylaws update. We welcome Andrea Larson, City Clerk, and Ryan Daly, Recreation Manager.
Good evening again, Commission. I am here with Andrea Larson, our City Clerk, and I do, while she's bringing up her quick presentation, I do want to mention that Andrea does have a Parks and Rec background. She years and years ago, she worked at the community center and then jumped ship and went to CPD and right around to being City Clerk. So she's one of us, I will say. And Andrea, with that, I will pass it off to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Good evening, Commission. For the record, my name is Andrea Larson, and I'm tonight before you. You have a new edition of the Parks and Recreation. Kind of a rewrite of the bylaws came about when I took office of City Clerk about 2 years ago. One of the things I noticed was all of our boards and commissions had bylaws that were similar, but just had a lot of differences too, that made it hard for staff to administer those and for our volunteers who are our board and commission members to be able to know what they're getting into and serving on them. So some of the goals was to just bring some consistency to them, as well as make sure that we're being consistent with the city code, state law, and the city council rules of procedure. During this time over the last 2 years, there were also some changes that were made to the Open Public Meetings Act. One of those changes was requiring public appearances be offered at any meeting where a decision is being made. And also we're having a physical meeting requirement while allowing the board to be virtual, such as we are tonight. And then we also just brought some alignment with the city council rules of procedure. I also wanted to make sure that in all of the boards and commission bylaws, we addressed training requirements. We brought some consistency to the election of chair and vice chair, because everybody was electing a chair and vice chair using basically the same process, but it was said 6 different ways. Just put into writing kind of when you guys can expect to get your packet materials and how the agendas are. Parks and Recreation protocols for your meetings to help you guys run efficient meetings. Within the bylaws, they are consistent with the city council rules of procedure. They incorporate parliamentary rules and motions from Robert's Rules of Order. They include Parks and Recreation Commission Code of Conduct, guidelines on communication with staff, and just an overview of how the city uses nextdoor.com. These bylaws were reviewed by the city attorney's office in September of 2023, and they're before you guys tonight for review and hopefully your adoption. My screen and open the floor to you for any questions.
Thank you, City Clerk. So if there's any questions to staff, I know that there were several comments that were submitted in writing ahead of time. And there also may be other questions or comments that commissioners may have they can just present orally this evening. So Ryan, is it best to kind of just go through kind of chapter by chapter?
Yeah, whatever you feel is the best process, Chair Struck. I will, if I could share my screen, there was a slight change from when the packet went out to the bylaws we're recommending tonight. If I could just share that real quick and touch on those 2 points, that might be helpful to the conversation.
Okay.
Right, is that showing up?
Yep, yes, it is.
It might be tiny. I have a giant screen. Let me see if I can zoom a little bit. All right, so one area, and I had highlighted this in an email to the commission that these were some changes. So in this first sentence here for roll call voting, all Parks and Recreation Commission voting will be done by roll call. Once a motion has been made, seconded, and discussion has concluded, is what we have added into that sentence. And then scrolling down, the other addition is right here is stating that a motion requires a majority vote of the quorum to pass. So just another addition there as number 19.
Okay. I think the way I'd like to do this is just to run through each section and just see if there's any additional comments, or we can also address the written comments that were submitted as appropriate. But first, I see that Commissioner Westberg has his hand up. Rory, I think you're on mute.
I just wanted to raise a point of information and clarification. So if we propose changes to the language as it is now, does that require a motion and a vote on each change? In the past, we've kind of done this, informally.
Yeah, we've kind of gone back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
But
my
now we're
thought was-
parliamentary wise.
Yeah.
Parliamentary procedure wise, the best way to do that if you wish to make amendments would be to do it through motions that are
So
voted on.
to put the current as a motion, then make revisions from that or not.
Either way, you could just make revisions and then approve
Okay.
as amended.
Yeah. All right, let's just do it that way then.
Okay,
Does that
thank you.
work for you?
Yeah, I just was curious how we were going to handle that.
Yeah. All right, got it.
Okay.
And just
Okay.
one point of clarification for the commission, depending on the changes that are proposed, we may need to take them back to the city attorney for city attorney review. So depending on
Okay.
the amendments that are proposed,
Okay. So just going through, I see on in section 1, purpose, function, and jurisdiction, Commissioner Cohn has submitted several or a few questions, and there's been a staff response. I guess Commissioner Cohn, with those responses, did they meet your questions, or do you have further? And I'll recognize you. I think you're on mute, Don.
Yeah, this is Don Cohen. Thank you. Yeah, I think they did. I understand the point that some of these are taken straight from council documents and things like that, and you don't want to worry about doing that. But just out of curiosity, on section 1.1D, where it says budget recommendations are limited to programs, level of service, capital improvement projects. As I said in my email, we haven't made recommendations, I don't think, on specific people, but we've talked about that, it might be good to have this such and such a position or this and so forth. And I guess I'm just curious whether staff views that as being included in, for example, level of service.
Yes, I think you're spot on there, Commissioner Cohen. That is really oftentimes that's more so maybe the conversation that we're having from a Parks and Recreation Commission standpoint is enhancing that level of service or focusing on that. And then as it relates to the budget, factoring that in.
That's all I had on section 1, Peter.
Okay, thank you. If there's, Commissioner Westberg. Oh, he just dropped it. Sorry. Okay. So moving on to section 2, membership and training. Again, let's start out. Commissioner Cohen had a couple of comments he submitted, and you have anything further to add there, Don?
Oh, I guess just worth a comment on section, let's see here, 2.1B. It says that people of so-and-so backgrounds shall be evenly represented, and that included, for example, library. And, we've had some people who were specifically interested and experienced in library information and programs before. We've had people like Peter Struck and others who are interested in it. And again, it's not a big deal, but to say evenly seems to me to have the same level of background and experience, and it seemed a little odd. I didn't know if that had come up. I know there's specific requirements, city clerk in like design commission, for example, but I was just curious about, in addition to the fact that it's different, that you're repeating what is said in the city document. What do you think?
It wouldn't, kind of my opinion of it is outside of the scope of that. I am here to do the will of the commission. Because that section is a direct quote from the Mercer Island City Code is the only reason that I am hesitant to amend the section.
Well, again, this probably isn't an important one because it apparently hasn't been a problem in the past, but maybe we're sort of keeping track of some of these things so that if these kind of any of these kinds of things are ever amended in the city code, we would at least be able to consider whether we'd want to recommend it or not. It's not
Brian's all over that.
Yeah, it may not be a good example, but like I'm a lawyer and I read the words, carefully. So I wouldn't want somebody to challenge the action of the commission because there was nobody on it in a particular year who had experience in whatever it might be. That's all I had to add on section 2, Peter.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or suggestions on section 2? Okay, I had one in section 2.2 under members, both E and F. So staff liaison, I think, should be a defined term, and so I think liaison should be capitalized. And same thing with council liaison, as well as mayor and deputy mayor. And I guess I would just suggest that somebody kind of do a good scrub of that throughout the whole document, because there's a lot of inconsistencies as to when things are capitalized and not. And that I think it sometimes can be confusing.
The
So,
formatting will all be addressed when it's finalized.
Yes, thank you. Just pointing it out. Commissioner Coney, you have another comment?
No, sorry.
No, okay, all right. So let's move on to section 3,
Yeah, this Don Cohen again. I just, this is another one of these small ones. I know that the chair and the vice chair generally meet with staff in organizing the agenda for upcoming meetings. Before I knew that it was taken straight out of the city code, I thought that would be a good duty to put in there. So if someone were thinking about becoming the chair, you would have it listed in there. I don't feel any more strongly about this than the word evenly in that earlier one. Thank you.
okay, Commissioner Westberg. You're on mute, Roy.
I agreed with Commissioner Cohen's comment in this particular case. I think it is important to note somewhere in the document that there is one of the responsibilities of the chair is to work with city staff in terms of establishing the agenda for the commission meetings. It demonstrates that there's a partnership there in terms of both selecting the topics to be discussed as well as their priority. So I don't know whether that belongs under section 3.2 or 5.1, but I think it's worth adding.
Okay, I think, City Clerk, do you have a response or a thought?
I do. One of the things to note for the commissions that are slightly different than the city council is the agendas are going to be set by staff because it depends on what staff needs to bring to the commission for you guys to determine. So that is just a slight difference from kind of how city council functions, where the mayor does kind of help set the schedule. Ryan might want to expound upon that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, as you already stated, with how city council operates. I think the way this commission has operated in the past, and I don't really see this changing from a staff standpoint, but from a responsibility point, it might differ. I still anticipate collaborating with the chair and vice chair regularly on setting the agenda and discussing, really making sure that our agendas are well balanced as we go forward, and what topics are coming forward. It is important that the commission isn't, or the chair isn't necessarily setting those agendas, because we're working toward our work plan on our side, if that makes sense. And items coming up could be suggested, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the chair will be setting the agendas for the commission meetings.
Okay, Commissioner Cohen, do you have a comment on this topic, or is this?
Well, I guess it sort of strikes me that if you weren't trying to duplicate what was in the city document, and everybody understands that the Peter Strzok's of the world are not trying to force their own agenda on this thing, they're just trying to work with staff and be responsive to questions and ideas. If those things were all true, you would say, oh, sure, yeah, that's one of the things that the chair does and that we all expect the chair to do. So I guess I guess I'd like to at least, I don't know what to do here. If the city attorney has said, you can't change any of these things, even if they're, relatively, I won't say minor, but at least they're not fundamental substantive issues. If the city attorney has said that we can't do that, then we got to put it in the parking lot for some future time, if any, when some of these changes might be considered. But it seems kind of silly to me not to include it, other than the fact that staff understandably doesn't want to have an agenda dictated by the chair or the vice chair or any commission member, and the fact that the wording is not included in the city code. So I don't know where to go with it, though.
Andrea, sorry,
No,
Chair.
go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was just going to say, in reading section 5, I'd be curious what the city clerks feel would be on including some level of um, you know, language that says collaboration with the chair or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think something.
Because as staff liaison, I have relied heavily on our previous chairs and vice chairs to help with that. So I think it would be good to have that reflected.
And I think that's exactly it. It's wording it more in that way to make your amendment of it's the staff liaison will consult with the chair and vice chair about the items that are on the agenda. It's just it's making sure that the commission knows kind of where the lane is. And that the commission does the work that's brought to them that's Ryan's been directed to either by city council or by that. So it's absolutely, there's ways to work in what you're talking about.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yeah, this is Don Cohen. If the wording, like Andrea just mentioned, can be worked in somewhere, that would meet my interest. And I'm kind of betting that the city attorney wouldn't say that invalidates the document that you're working from, but I won't speak for him.
Do you have some specific language you'd like, or do you want to maybe have somebody?
I'm taking a little shot at it right now. I might have a recommendation here in 10 seconds.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, Commissioner Westberg.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Westberg. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of support what Don said. Is my interest in this is not to suggest that staff doesn't have the primary role, but it's to reinforce the idea that the commission, the chair of the commission, works in collaboration with staff to develop the agenda or provides input on proposed agendas, which I don't believe, based on what I've heard so far, would be inconsistent with how the other commissions operate or how we've been operating in the past.
Sorry to just jump in and share my screen, Chair Strzok,
Okay.
but I wanted to show this red line version of what I just added, and I kind of took from Commissioner Westberg and his wording of collaboration, and I left it a little more open, utilizing the term commission leadership to represent both the chair and vice chair, as well as possibly the council liaison.
Okay. Should we do like just I think a thumbs up if the people are comfortable with that revision?
I'd put a comma after leadership if the wording is going to work for people, but that's me.
All right.
I agree.
Well, I think we do have a majority there of folks saying that they're comfortable with that. So thank you for that, Ryan. Okay, any other here? Looks like there any other comments on section 3? All right, seeing none, let's move on to section 4, meetings. I kind of touched on that a little bit. Again, Commissioner Cohen, you had a written comment on section 4.1.
Yeah, yes, it's Don Cohen. One of them is reflected in one of the revisions that Ryan Daly talked about before. So that's the majority vote, just being explicit on that. So that was fine with me. I'll take the city attorney's viewpoint on what you can do and not do regarding ballot propositions, and I won't try to argue that one. The language on section 4.3C, again, it was just a little bit about the wording. I mean, we have comments from time to time on Ryan Daly's staff report or anybody's staff report. And it seemed to me, whether it's best practice or not, it seemed to me the language was, oh, this may be overstating it, a little harsh. And I don't have that right in front of me at the moment, but you know, it sort of read to me like, you know, don't comment on this. But then,
Well, and I think
but then there was a response from staff in that said, no, of course you can ask questions and so forth and everything. So I guess I just like to sort of know what staff and city clerk's expectations are and aren't.
Well, and I think from hearing how you said it right there, I want to clarify one thing as well. What it means on there for staff liaisons report is kind of Ryan's director's report at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
That's what that item is. That's not any staff reports that are presented to you under items of regular business for your discussion there. But that report really is meant to be an informational point for Ryan to communicate information to the commission as a whole. The stuff on there, nobody knows what Ryan's going to talk about. So having a discussion about it, then the community isn't aware of the discussions that you're going to have. So that's why it's not in best practice to kind of have discussions. If there's clarifying questions about what Ryan's saying, there's something in the department director's report that you want to bring back for commission discussion at a later date when we can put it on the agenda so that we're meeting our open public meeting requirements. That's where we're intending to go with this.
Yeah. This is Don Cohen. May I speak, Peter, on that one?
Yes, please.
If compliance with the Open Meetings Act and transparency with the public and so forth is kind of the basis for the staff's viewpoint on this, then I guess I would ask whether it's appropriate for the staff liaison to have things in his report that haven't been publicized beforehand. So that's a little bit of a rhetorical question, but I'm a little, I'm still I'm still a little unclear. We listened to Ryan, and it used to be that he would say, does anybody have any questions about this? Anybody have any comments on this?
And a lot of the stuff in Ryan's reports do come from the city manager's report from city council. And if you're transmitting information, is just different than the commission having discussion.
If you and the rest of the people in the city say that it's legally required basically to have that kind of a statement in there, then I'll let it drop. And from my point of view, I don't quite get the distinction, but I do know a little bit about the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, thank you, Don. Vice Chair Burstein.
This is Paul Burstein. So would it be a conflict of the Open Meetings Act if we ask questions?
You can ask questions, you just can't hold discussion and make decisions about things that are in. Right. So if you have questions about something that Ryan had in his thing, you can absolutely ask questions about it. You just can't hold discussion as a commission about an item that was in the staff liaison report.
Okay, so that would be the only, if it made sense to clarify in that paragraph, saying that commissioners may still ask questions of the staff liaison for what was reported.
City Clerk, did you have any response to
That would be the will of the commission. With the reminder that the purpose of the bylaws was to bring consistency between all of the boards and commissions. What's before you is what's been presented to the other boards and commissions as well.
Thank you. Vice Chair Bercy, did you want to propose some language to that effect, or?
Well, I think in practice, yeah, I'm not very concerned about it in practice. I guess you put it in there just so Ryan wouldn't be put up a wall and between us verbally and being able to ask questions, and that's not going to happen. So I'm not really concerned about it, but if there is a point of contention, perhaps that amendment to clarify it should be considered. But to me, it's fine as is.
Okay, Commissioner Cohen?
Sorry, I don't have any further.
Oh,
comment.
okay. Commissioner Westberg?
Well, I was just going to propose that you could say, you could put a period at the end of last meeting period, and say commissioners may ask questions or make comments, but not enter into debate or discussion on any item raised in the staff liaison's report.
If
City Clerk, do you have any reaction to that proposed language?
It would be the same that was in the matrix, that it's just not in best practice to, just because it's not in the bylaws doesn't mean that you can't ask questions.
Right.
Like, please don't take
Well,
what I'm
right,
saying
yeah,
that you
yeah.
can't ask
Okay.
questions there. But it's just, my answer would be the same as what's in the matrix.
Okay. So we have some proposed language by Commissioner Westberg to revise slightly the existing document or bylaws. Can I have a thumbs up as to whether people agree with that language? Yes or no?
Can we repeat the proposal?
Okay,
Point of order.
Commissioner Westberg, you want to repeat it?
Sure. So this is bullet C under 4.3, staff liaisons report. It says, I'm proposing that it read, the staff liaison will discuss the meeting schedule and report on significant activities since the last meeting period. Commissioners may ask questions or make comments, but may not enter into debate or discussion on any item raised during the staff liaison's report.
Okay. Once again, okay. Raise hands are going up and down here. If everybody kind of understands that, can I see a show of thumbs if you're interested in revising? 1, 2, 3. Okay. We did not get a majority there, so we will leave it as is. Any other? Oh, Commissioner Cohen.
Yes, Don Cohen, at risk of violating the reconsideration prohibition later on. One of the reasons on this is if I and others have reacted the way we have, I'm concerned about how some people in the community would react to things when the Parks and Rec Commission, maybe in others, in other commissions also, but the Parks and Rec Commission in particular is charged with being a conduit of information and encouraging public knowledge of what's going on with Parks and Recs. And to me, the wording on some of these things, perhaps mistakenly, but didn't seem consistent. I'm thinking of, certain people who might attack it because of that, but that was part of the reason for my interest in that one. But I don't have anything further to say. I'm not calling for another thumbs up vote or thumbs down vote or anything like that,
Okay.
even if I could.
Okay, well, thank you. As I said, the revised language did not get a sufficient number of yays. So I think let's just see how things play out as we go forward. Any other comments on section 4? Well, seeing none, I have a couple, sorry about that. One, in my written ones, I asked about should individual commissioner votes be recorded in the minutes, and I talked with Ryan earlier. This was a little bit of a miscommunication. What I wanted to say was that I wanted to make sure, I believe, that the vote tally, whether it's 7-0, 4-3, 5-2, whatever the number is, would be recorded in the minutes, because I think some of you may remember that if you go back a year or two, the way the motions were, they just had approved without any vote tally. And I think it's important to show the vote tally, because I think it sends a message, especially if we're endorsing a policy that's being sent to council. It was, if I'm a council member, was the vote 7-0 unanimous? Was it 4-3? So which say, well, wait a minute, there's maybe two sides to the story and so forth. And I think that, again, for some language under section 4.1 I as I, roll call voting, perhaps just at the end, it says the chair announces the results. This at the very end. And then I would add, and the minutes, reflect that result, something as simple as that, just to make sure that we codify that. Yes, we want to see the vote tally, not the individual names. So, Commissioner Cohen.
Don Cohn, I would support that for the reasons that Peter just stated.
Okay. Commissioner Westberg.
Ditto.
Okay, all right. Well, why don't we just do a thumbs up or down? So it would just be chair announces the result, and we'd add the result is I got the wording wrong again. Is provided in the minutes of the meeting. I'll let staff kind of, if they want to wordsmith that, but I think they get the ideas. So thumbs up or down on that idea. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that one's carried. Thank you.
If I could just clarify the language real. Oh,
yeah, thank you.
did you just send me the vote? The vote is recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Got it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then I had one other thought under section 4.1 under G, attendance, and it talks here about absences and excused or unexcused. And I was just wondering, and maybe city clerk, you can respond to this, but would be to in the minutes would say, if there were absences, like in the current minutes we have, I was gone last time, just say whether it's excused or unexcused. Is that to me, that would be of value.
Yes, that could be added if but was the will of the commission.
Okay. So once again, under absence, right now it says any member anticipating absence from meeting should notify the chair and staff liaison from the recreation division. And again, the minutes of the meeting will reflect that absence as an excused absence.
And that was, I'm sorry, which, I got lost in my section.
Sorry, under 4G, under attendance, number 1, absence.
4G.
Top of page 9, Ryan.
Top of page 9, thank you.
I'm way too far ahead. Sorry, say that section for me one more time.
Well, right now it says any member anticipating absence from a meeting should notify the chair and staff liaison from the recreation division, period. Then, that absence, shall be noted in the minutes of the meeting as excused.
Got it.
All right, okay, several hands, Commissioner Hay.
I think there are a couple other hands before me if they want to go
Oh,
first.
Okay, I apologize. Well, I don't know who came first. I was looking at the other thing. Vice Chair Burstein, we'll just go from the top to the bottom.
This is Paul Bursing. I don't see a value of saying whether it's excused or unexcused. I think the only thing that's needed is to note whether the person was present or absent.
Okay, Council Liaison Reynolds.
Hi, thank you. I'm just going to note the way this works with the council, as I recall, is there's a motion at some point during the meeting, usually at the end, to formally excuse the absence.
Okay,
And since that's a motion and a vote, it kind of gets automatically recorded that way that it's excused.
okay, thank
So
you.
that
That's very
might be the way
helpful.
to deal with it here.
Thank you. I think that actually is probably a better way to do it. Go to Commissioner Cohen.
Yes, thanks, Don Cohen. Maybe I don't understand the substantive reasons for that an absence is excusable. If, for example, if you're going to be out of town for pleasure or for business, you have a medical issue, you have a relative's baseball game, you whatever it is, are all of those, as long as under this wording, as long as you notify staff beforehand, it's excused, is the way I would read it. It may be that if that's what's intended, that's okay. So it's just if you don't show up,
Right,
basically, that it's unexcused.
right. And the rationale for my thoughts here is that somewhere in the document it talks about that if you have 3 unexcused absences, you're subject to termination. So I mean, there is a distinction being made, and I think I think you're correct, Commissioner Cohen, that you know, if you don't notify anybody and you don't show up, maybe then you don't, maybe that because you didn't show up, we don't have a quorum, and so things like that. But that was really my rationale for it, is because there is a place where they do talk about make a distinction between excused and unexcused.
Even if it's not noted in the minutes, if there was a issue with attendance with a commissioner, there would be record of it as staff tried to reach out to communicate to that commissioner. So there would be other record of it.
I wasn't quite following you there, City Clerk.
So as it's written now before the proposed amendment,
Right,
it may not, it would just be noted in the minutes as Chair Struck was absent from
right,
the meeting.
right.
To address the part later where it talks about unexcused absences, there would be other records that were developed through staff's communication of trying to reach out to the commissioner who had unexcused absences. So even if it wasn't noted in the minutes of the meeting, there would be communications that would be referenced for the mayor in those cases.
Okay, all right. Quite frankly, I like the Liaison Reynolds' suggestion about how to handle this, so thank you. Commissioner Cohen, any final thought?
Sorry, no.
Okay, all right. We will handle that other way, but thank you for that. Going to section 5, agenda preparation. Any I don't see any written comments. All right.
This is the section that we added in
Right.
in
Yes.
collaboration.
Yes, thank you. Section
Point of
6.
order, point of order before you go on, Peter.
Sure.
On the previous point on excused versus unexcused absences and reporting.
Yeah.
Are we making an amendment
No,
to this at all?
no.
Okay, thank you.
On section 6, Parks and Recreation Commission protocols. I see, there's a couple of, written comments that came in on the matrix from, Commissioner Cohen. And Don, are you comfortable with the responses, or you have any further thoughts?
Don Cohen, I'll take staff's word for it on section 6.4D and appendix A, section 21. On section 6.5, again, the language seemed a little harsh. You know, it was the one place in here that says the commissioners agree that they will give 48 hour, minimum of 48 hours notice of any suggested changes to the agenda. It's the only place that I remember where it actually said that. And I also, frankly, I mean, I know you want to have as much notice as you can, and I don't know if it's been an issue. And there was some language in another, appendix C, section 7 was designed to hit the same issue, but it didn't have a specific time period. And I personally thought that got the job done. And I take it that 48 hours is not one that it has to be consistent with anything in the city documents.
The 48 hours is directly from the city council rules of procedure.
Okay, then I'll take back my last comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on section 6? Okay, hearing none. Going then to appendix A. Seeing none. Appendix B. Oh, Commissioner Cohen. Okay, he dropped his hand.
Sorry.
Appendix B.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Seeing none. Appendix C. I see, Commissioner Cohen, you had one comment.
No, I think we've covered what I, wanted to talk about,
Okay,
or
All right.
the information provided is understandable.
all right. Then commission appendix D. How's the city use nextdoor.com? I don't think there's probably anything there, but seeing, okay. All right, so Ryan, did you want to just kind of go through the couple of the document where we put in the edits, and then we can entertain a motion?
Yeah, I can call those out for you. Hopefully. And I think that's up and running. So just going through the document, the change here with roll call voting, as well as adding in this additional section down here, and the vote will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. In section 5, adding in collaboration with commission leadership, an agenda shall be prepared, etc. I believe we have, then we have number 19 here under appendix A. A motion requires a majority vote of the quorum to pass. And I believe that was the final one of changes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, may I have a motion to adopt the revised, oh, got a couple of hands first. City Clerk.
Sorry, Chair. The amendment that was made to 5.1, Ryan, can you bring that back up?
5-1
just-
said.
Yes, please. I'm wondering if the commission might I feel it might be a little more appropriate if we tweak that sentence and move it to 3.2 where it covers the duties of the chair. That's really more where it's speaking of the duties of the chair, whereas this is more talking about the agenda preparation. I'd been trying to find the other point the whole time, and I finally found it as Ryan was scrolling through this stuff.
All right. See
So
if Ryan
essentially,
can-
we scroll up to 3.2, Ryan.
Yeah,
So we could add another kind of sentence after the in consultation, 3.2a. Add
Right.
another, nope, like at the very bottom. Keep going down. Oh, nope, up too far. So the sentence that reads in consultation with the vice chair, the chair appoints commissioners to serve as commission liaisons, go enter. And we could just start another blurb that says in consultation with the staff liaison. What was the verb? And then whatever you had in 5.1.
Yeah, what was that? We'll collaborate on agenda preparation.
Yes. So I just wanted to see if the commission thought that that was a better place to put that amendment. Either are fine from the city clerk's perspective, but that's what I wasn't able to think of earlier.
okay. Vice Chair Burstein, sorry.
This is Paul Bernstein. I think the way we had it before in the other section encompasses the chair, the vice chair, and the city council liaison, whereas here it is just the chair. So keeping it general with the commission leadership brings all three people in collaboration with the recreation manager in discussing the agenda. So I prefer it where it was before, not in 3.2.
Okay,
Would you
Does-
mind scrolling back down to the 5.1? Can we see that again where it was?
And you could add commission leadership to that sentence.
I see
In
what you're saying.
consultation with the staff liaison and commission leadership.
does anybody else have comments on whether it should be in section 3 versus section 5? Commissioner Cohen.
Yes, Don Cohen. Well, if you don't do it the way that Paul Bernstein mentioned, it isn't an obligation of the staff to consult. It's just saying it's one of the roles of the chair or the leadership to consult on the preparation of it. I think both of them are the way that it's been done in practice. So maybe you want to do both and you add it to you add language in the earlier one under both chair and vice chair. Again, I don't want to make this too complicated, but I think it's kind of changing half of the purpose of this, that it's going to be a collaboration. Collaboration means both ways.
Yes, my only concern with where the agenda setting is, like Ryan's is who picks what goes on the agenda. But it can go wherever the commission would like.
Commissioner Hay.
Yeah, initially I thought maybe putting it in 3 would be fine, but based on Commissioner Burstein's comment, I do think 5.1 is a nice, concise place to leave this.
Okay. Commissioner Cohen again.
Oh, sorry.
Going on. All right. Okay. Let's just take a thumbs up of keeping it in section 5.1 as it's shown on the screen here and deleting it from section 3. just having it said essentially once. Is everybody comfortable with that, or? Okay, all right. I think we do have a positive outcome on that. So let's just leave as it is in 5.1 and delete the 3 point whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Which is reflective of current practice.
Right. Okay. So thank you for that. So again, commissioners, may I have a motion to adopt the revised bylaws? Commissioner Cohen.
I don't know if this is a point of order or point of clarification or what this is, Don Cohen, because it goes back to something. Andrea, on 6.5, the 48-hour rule, you said that that's in the commission rules. I didn't see that stated in the commission response to this. I'll take your word for it, but that's why I said it. That was one of them that didn't say it was, would keep it consistent with commission rules or code or something like that. So
That was just an oversight. My apologies.
okay, thank you.
Okay, is somebody willing to propose a motion to adopt the revised bylaws? Commissioner Westberg.
I move that we adopt the proposed bylaws with the modifications we have discussed at this meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hay. Okay. So there's a motion by Commissioner Westberg and a second by Commissioner Hay to adopt the revised bylaws. Any final comments? Hearing none, commissioners, please turn on your microphones. And I will ask city staff to conduct a roll call vote. Oh, Councilmember Reynolds.
Yeah, just a quick point of order or something resembling that. The motion says something about the changes we discussed. I think would be more appropriate and consistent with the intent to say the changes we approved, because I think you discussed something you did not approve.
Correct.
Thank you.
I'll modify the language of the motion to be that we approve the proposed bylaws with the modifications that we have agreed to.
Okay. All right. And Commissioner Hay, you would second that?
I will second that.
Thank you. Okay. Any final comments? All right. Please turn on your microphones and city staff, will you call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Markson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Chair Struck,
Aye.
Commissioner Westberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Again, thanks for City Clerk and everybody else for helping us through that. The fourth item is the review of the P-Patch Community Garden Rules. As you will recall, we had a first reading of this in September, and we welcome Ryan Daly, Katie Herzog, and Dave Sutherland from city staff at this point.
Thank you. Good evening again. Before I pass it off to Dave Sutherland, Recreation Coordinator, I just want to remind the commission we did revisit this. We have had fairly extensive outreach with our P-Patch participants in getting their input, as many of you have seen through public comments and emails that have come through. So we believe that these guidelines do reflect the conversations we had at the previous meeting, as well as some input received from some of our P-Patch members. So with that, I will pass it to Recreation Coordinator Dave Sutherland.
Thank you, Ryan, and good evening, commissioners. I'm Dave Sutherland, the Recreation Coordinator responsible for the oversight of the P-Patch program. I want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to address you all this evening. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to seek the Parks and Recreation Commission's endorsement of the draft P-Patch Community Garden rules. As stated previously, at the September 7th Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, the commission provided valuable input on the draft purpose statement, objectives, and rules. Subsequently, staff utilized this feedback to refine and enhance the materials, most notably the program rules. The commission's discussion was robust. Your insights were integrated into the draft rules. These draft rules have been crafted to align with the commission's input. There was a lot of valuable input. Sort of the four big takeaways were one, prioritizing residents' participation, two, promoting program accessibility, three, maintain the natural character of the garden or the area, and enhance participant and visitor safety. And you'll find those that input littered throughout the document. Also, these rules have been reviewed by the city attorney, as well as cross-referenced with the Washington City Insurance Authority's recommendations for best practices for community gardens. Ryan, I'm going to ask for you to help me a little bit here by pulling up some of the newest updates. So what Ryan will be pulling up is, in addition, staff has received feedback from gardeners as well as commissioners since producing the current draft. And this feedback has led to a slight language update of the rules. And so maybe...
Is that showing up for you, Dave?
Yeah, I could see it over here.
Yeah, I can see it.
Ryan, would you mind walking us through the newest updates?
Absolutely. So, as we published the packet and as you saw with the bylaws and we received input, there were two specific areas that we adapted since the packet went out, and those are reflected down here in number 17. The previous statement was, I would say, rather narrow. So staff adapted that to sale of harvest and or use of a plot for commercial purposes is prohibited. Basically being a little bit more broad in that statement. And then the other being, and this was something that staff has actually been thinking about, and thankfully a community member reminded us, the gravel and stone and whatnot being brought up to the P-Patch area can create a non-permeable ground covering, which becomes extremely challenging, obviously, when we're trying to maintain a porous landscape. Additionally, when an individual leaves or vacates their plot, we would be left with presumably a lot of gravel or stone left in those areas. So that was an update to number 19 to add gravel, stone, and concrete to that statement, as well as including wood chips as an allowed ground covering or pathway covering, I guess I would say. So those were the two changes since the packet went out that we adapted and are recommending to the commission tonight.
Thank you, Ryan. So I think with that, its staff's recommendation is for the commission to endorse the proposed Mercer Island P-Patch Community Garden rules as amended. And with that said, I would like to invite you all to begin the discussion on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Commissioner Cohn.
Thank you, Don Cohn. I have two questions. Well, one is just a question, and another one is, well, I guess there are two questions. So gravel is considered non-permeable. I mean, just thinking about gravel on the sides of at Aubrey Davis Park and gravel contemplated with grass seating or something for the Luther Burbank Park pickleball area. So, but it's considered non-permeable as a general proposition.
I think it could be, depending on what's being used in that aspect. You know, if you were using, call them grindings, those pack down into basically a solid structure, for lack of a better term. Additionally, I would say I don't want to make a determination on whether or not it's a impervious surface or not, but it does, from our aspect as staff, we believe that it would be something that's not conducive to that environment up there.
Okay, well, that's not exactly what the wording says now, because it says and other non-permeable things. So again, I'm not just trying to wordsmith it, but it seems to me if there are nuances of gravels, which, like you said, then I don't know, but it was a question I had. So the other question I had was, because of the volume of emails that were sent to the commission in the last 3 days or something like that, could Dave or Ryan or somebody describe, did you go through all of, I assume you went through all of those because I know that Ryan responded to every one of them, and did you decide that some were worthy or not worthy of inclusion or inconsistent or what? Because frankly, I started losing track because of the volume. And then now you're presenting tonight, okay, here are the ones we've decided to include. And I would have liked 48 hours notice too, right? But you didn't have them because some of them just came in today, right? So.
I may have missed the question there. I apologize.
Yeah, the question was, which of the comments from the community that were received by email since the packet was distributed, particularly in the last week, which of them did you, why weren't a lot of them included in revisions?
Absolutely. We had a discussion with the Parks Commission last month. We utilized that conversation to guide the rules that we developed. I would say to your specific question on which rule or which input did we take from the public that we included in our recommendation here, that was specific to gravel and stone.
Okay, so for example, I understand that one citizen's comment about, I don't think that it ought to be limited to organics because organics may cause more problems than inorganic fertilizers, etc. I understand that would be inconsistent with what we said. Okay, are there other? Can you give me one or two other ones? Because it seemed like there were a couple of dozen things.
I'm not very comfortable at this point commenting on public comment that came into the commission. I would encourage the commissioners to have that discussion. What we've put forward are the guidelines we feel and rules that we feel would best serve this program based on the input we received from the public through this process, as well as from the Parks Commission last month.
So Don, I think what Ryan is suggesting is that he's asking, commissioners, if there are particular comments from the public that would warrant discussion, et cetera, that it's I guess incumbent upon us to bring those forth, if that's an appropriate paraphrasing of what you said, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to adjust or take input from the commission on the proposed rules.
Yeah. Don, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna go to Commissioner Hay, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. My comment is along the same lines as Commissioner Cohen's in that we received the draft of this on Friday, the 29th, and we did receive a lot of comments from people who are using the P-patch since then. And some of these are, I think, really important to consider. And I think there would be two ways to do this. We could either consider them one by one tonight, but that might be tedious considering whether or not everybody's had a chance to read these. And I'm not sure if we'd capture all of that because these were just received yesterday. So my question based on those comments is, how urgent is it for us to adopt this tonight? Or could we put some of these questions and comments, public comments, into a matrix and do this at the next meeting?
It's not urgent. It is something that staff would like to utilize as we wrap up this season with the current participants. I'd be curious. I know it seems like there may be some changes that the commission desires to make to these rules. I would need that feedback. It's really the commission's will on how they would like to move forward with staff's recommendation.
Thank you for that, Ryan. I'm going to go to a couple other comments. So Commissioner Markson.
Yeah, thank you. This is Commissioner Markson. I did my best to read the emails that came in, and I guess I had a few items that seemed, based on the discussion and some of the emails, that seemed like something we could discuss changing. So I think we're at the point where we'll at least do that and then decide if we want to change it now, and anyway, what the next steps are. So, okay, there's a couple things. Let's see, we had an item about raised beds in the, let's see, number 22. Sorry, I'm like going between multiple screens.
Commissioner Markson, maybe let's maybe as a full commission, we should make a decision as to whether we want to try to go through these tonight one by one, or my thought was maybe we should have just a subcommittee of a couple of people that would kind of collate these and work with staff to kind of prepare them for next times. I have a suspicion if we try to do them one by one tonight, I'm not sure how valuable use of the time would be, but I'm going to ask Commissioner Westberg if he has some thoughts, or his hand is up. You're on mute.
I'm just not on top of mute tonight. I was prepared to go down the path suggested by Ryan and that Sarah started, which was having read through all the comments that had come in. There were several that I thought raised good questions and good thoughts that would improve the rules as proposed. And I don't know that we're going to be able to make a call between organic and non-organic and some of the other issues that were raised by the people, but I thought there were some good ideas for how to improve the existing packet of rules, and I was going to put forth suggestions along those lines. So if we don't want to do that tonight, but Ryan indicated that what's going to be most helpful to him and staff is to get comments back that they can incorporate into the revisions to the rules. If we're not ready to make those, then as a commission, then we should probably postpone it.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Westberg. Commissioner Hay.
Yeah, I like that suggestion. And I think that there were some really important changes to consider, but I think they're minimal. I'm ready to do that now if the rest of the commission is also ready to do that. And maybe we can just go one by one and decide if we want to make a small update, and then we can get it done tonight.
Okay, it sounds like at least some of you are set to go. So let's see if we can get through this. So I'll Commissioner Hayes, since if you have some, why don't you start and then we can go to others.
Sure. Do we want to go in order of the document if we pull the document up and look at it by the numbers, or and maybe just instead of hopping back and forth, we go through, does anybody have a change to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, that would be great. I think that's a good way to approach it.
Okay.
So we're starting with well, maybe let's go back up to be comprehensive. So we've got the purpose statement. Any suggestions there? Seeing none, moving on. Program objectives. Again, seeing none. So now to the general guidelines, I'll use that term. So we'll just work down them. Guideline number 1 regarding residency and so forth. No. Guideline number 2, plot allocation priority for no. Guideline 3, maximum 1 plot per household. Commissioner Hay.
Yeah, so on this one, I would make a motion to revise that to 1 plot per resident rather than household. That was a public comment that came in that I thought was really relevant. Maybe multiple people in the household enjoy gardening and they have a different style of gardening. One likes flowers, one likes vegetables. Maybe it's something they enjoy together, but on their separate plots. So, sorry, let me go back. I'll make the motion, then we can discuss if there is. I move that we revise this to per resident rather than per household.
Okay. I guess, is there a second to entertain that?
Chair Struck, if I might
Oh.
interject. I thought the process we used on the bylaws was really beneficial on the thumbs up, thumbs down to recommend.
Okay,
We're not
all right.
actually, since we're just working through the document, it doesn't have to be the formal roll call vote.
Okay,
If you're comfortable with that, staff.
that's
comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm all about easy, so thank you. Okay, so the suggestion is to change it from 1 plot per household to 1 plot per resident. And Commissioner Westberg, do you want to speak to that as well?
It's more of a question than anything. For Ryan, how big of a waiting list do we have for plots?
Excellent question. Dave?
Yeah,
I'll ask you to respond to that one, and then I'll have a follow-up.
Yeah, of course, I'd be happy to answer that. So there's a robust waiting list. I'd say there's roughly 20 people on the waiting list. And one of the things that the committee discussed previously is that they wanted to promote access to the program. And so a lot of times what happens is you get multiple people from single residents, and they're taking up several plots when there isn't a wait list. You start adding, husband, wife, however, partner. And then all of a sudden the wait list builds back up and you're in the plots for an undetermined amount of time. So it could be a household takes up 2, 3, 4 plots while a wait list is built. So that was kind of our discussion we had on the 7th.
So is that why the word household was chosen instead of resident? Was that intended to be more limiting?
I'll
Yes,
interject there, Dave, if I could. Staff's sort of thought process around, and this was one that we went around in a circle with, because we did know that there are a few individuals up there occupying multiple plots. We were using the term household to expand access to other households, other residents outside of just that one individual. The other thing that we took into consideration when placing this on there Was Mercer Island's a little bit, I believe Mercer Island is unique in the size of our plots. We have very large plots, so to consider two individuals occupying a 20, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, 20 or 40 by 20 is sort of our average plot size. We felt that multiple individuals could probably utilize that space in an effort to create additional access to others.
Yeah, Ryan, if I could add on there, it's a 10 by 40 plot, and I think what we've seen in our research is a standard plot is typically, I think 6 by 10. So ours are substantially larger.
Mr. Westberg, do you have any further comment or?
No, I appreciate that clarification. So the idea was to recognize the fact that you might have multiple members of a household working a plot, but you did not want to encourage multiple residents that may share a household to each have a plot.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Okay, so going back to the suggestion of changing it from 1 plot per household to 1 plot per resident. Those in favor of that change, thumbs up, please. All right, I'm not seeing enough, so the will of the commission is to keep it as is. All right. Number 4, plot holders may not transfer garden space. Any suggestions or thoughts on that? Seeing none. Number 5, children are welcome and encouraged. Number 6, dogs, cats, and other animals are not allowed, etc. All right, moving along. 7, plot holders and guests must be considerate and respectful. Okay. Oh, Commissioner Westberg. Oh, Rory, you're still.
I didn't quite grasp the difference between 7 and 8. It seemed like they were saying essentially the same thing.
Dave or Ryan, you want to? Dave, you're on mute.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
My apologies. So yeah, I think I can speak to this. So we're talking about 7 and 8, is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, the difference.
It just seemed to me like those could be combined.
Yeah. Ryan, I'll defer to you on that.
Yeah, this was number 8 was an addition by the city attorney, but without the deletion of number 7. From my reading, I see them as similar, and I would, if the commission desires to remove, I would be supportive of removing number 7 and maintaining number 8.
All right, let's just take a look here. Okay, so the suggestion is to remove 7 and just stay with 8. If you're okay with that, thumbs up. All right, so we will remove 7. All right. I think we took care of the new 7. 8, smoking, vaping, blah, blah, blah. All right. Number 9, do not enter plot spaces. 10, motorized equipment, not allowed. Oh, Commissioner Hay.
I just wanted to recognize a comment that we received asking about rototillers and cultivators. Would that be considered garden equipment?
Yes. if and would be permitted if battery powered as opposed to gas powered under this proposal.
Okay, so we just say motorized equipment. So, oh, I see.
So motorized equipment is not allowed except if it's battery powered.
I see. Okay. Is there a reason why? I apologize if I if we didn't discuss this in the previous meeting, I don't remember it, about why it must be battery powered and somebody can't use their motorized rototiller or cultivator. Is that new? I didn't notice that last time.
It wasn't included. Well, Dave, help me if it was there or not. I've looked at this too many times. We'll say it wasn't there because I don't believe we went through individual rules, but I'll say that the reason or our rationale would be, and as you saw in the liaison report earlier, we're testing out a lot of battery powered equipment as a city staff. The other part is I would encourage us not to have gas cans or the general public bringing gas powered items into that area. There's a potential for spill. There's a potential for issue. There's also a noise and pollution aspect, and staff wanting to maintain the natural character of the area was proposing to put forth using battery powered equipment only.
Mr. Hay, you have a further comment or?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. We didn't discuss it as a commission, and I am curious if others have thoughts about if we should be banning the motorized equipment or, banning
Okay.
rather than encouraging it. I'm just curious if anybody else has thoughts on that.
Okay, well, Commissioner Cohen.
Don Cohen, yes, I think we should be banning motorized equipment. My only question is whether, is there, Ryan or Dave, are there electrical outlets available for P-patch users? And if so, what if it's there's an electric cord that operates some piece of motorized equipment? Is that permitted or not under battery powered?
I'll answer that one. There is no electrical access up at the P-patch.
Okay, thank you.
That would be answer number one. If you so you had a battery powered trimmer, or not a battery powered, an electric trimmer that you plug into an outlet. If you had kind of thinking through this on the fly here, if you had one of those battery jump boxes, it's not a gas generator, but it's a battery powered jump box, you could plug into that and do your yard work or whatever in that aspect. And that would be how you would be able to use that plug in my opinion, or my workaround.
Okay, Commissioner Westberg.
Thank you.
Thank you, this is Commissioner Westberg. Yeah, I thought about this one too, and in light of the comment about not being allowed to use rototillers and things like that. And because that would simplify in many ways, maintenance and of the sites, as if people could bring in power equipment and till the soil. But on the other hand, the more I thought about it, the more I agree with Ryan about introducing gasoline up in that area and having gas powered equipment. It might not just be rototillers, it might be other things, trimmers or whatever. Battery powered garden tools have gotten to be really good and very powerful and very efficient. And so I'm comfortable with the way this reads now after thinking about it.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Hay.
Thanks. Yeah, I would prefer to remove this. only for the reason that there is not an electrical source for people to charge the batteries. And we use battery powered garden tools. They're great, but there is nothing more frustrating than having that battery run out and you don't have a way to charge it and you're in the middle of a project or you've only got half the leaves blown off of your driveway. So we might have some people breaking the profanity rule up here. They find themselves in that situation. So I don't know how frequent people are using these tools up there, but on the rare occasion, once a year they want to till, or actually probably every 2 to 3 years they would need. I don't know how frequent it is that we would need to have this in there. So my preference would be to remove it. That's how I feel about that. If there's not support for it, that's okay too.
Okay. So why don't we do a thumbs up as to keep it as is? So where it would just be battery powered. So what do people think? Just keep as is? 2, 3.
How are you
Okay.
doing? How are you doing this thumb? Which kind of thumbs up are you doing? I've lost track.
I'm just saying keep thumbs up as keep it as is.
No, but like I don't see my picture on here. Sorry.
Oh, I see you.
Well, I must have turned something off.
Maybe
then.
there's
Okay.
okay. All right, so we're gonna leave it as is. All right, number 11, potholders are responsible for cultivating, weeding, etc. Any comments? Number 12, tools, equipment, materials, supplies must be neatly stacked, etc. 13, plants on the state's noxious weed list, etc. are prohibited. All right, moving along. Okay, 14. Pea patch is an organic gardening program. Use of pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides made from synthetic materials, as well as use of chemical fertilizers is prohibited. Manure and so forth are allowed.
Briefly,
Any comments on that?
If I could speak to it very briefly, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
This one is straight from our Washington City's Insurance Authority guidance. That's how this was entered in there.
Say that again, Ryan. I didn't quite hit.
This came from guidance from the Washington City's Insurance Authority.
Okay.
Their draft document on community gardening.
Okay. Any comments on this one? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. 15, plantings, materials, fencing, equipment must be kept within borders of your identified plot. Councilmember Reynolds.
Sorry, I just want to back up one step. I was too slow to get my hands up.
No worries.
I'm very much, and I have no vote in this, but I'm just going to make an observation that I'm not sure the term chemical fertilizer is well defined. Everything's a chemical, at some level, I assume you're referring to kind of factory created chemicals as opposed to natural chemicals, but do we worry about that ambiguity? And I don't have a suggested alternative either, but.
I'll look to staff. Do they have any?
And steer manure is a chemical. It just happens to come out of the hind end of a steer, just.
Yeah, I don't really have a response to that one, honestly. Definitely, I wish Elaine Summergren was on here. She'd be my lean. It is something if desired, I can go and I could work with her to create additional detail on this if that's the commission's will.
Well, I think if there's a sense that everybody knows what this means, maybe you just let it ride, but just wanted to raise the issue.
I would say staff's interpretation is exactly that of a created, manufactured chemical fertilizer that you're placing down as opposed to what may be organic or natural.
Okay, Commissioner Cohen.
Don Cohen. Yeah, I'm okay with this, the way this is, until I started thinking, so you can't put Miracle Grow on any of your stuff, right?
Right.
Okay, as long as everybody understands that, that wouldn't have occurred to me as a prohibited kind of thing, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you for that. My sense on this one is to kind of let it ride. And I think, staff will come back at some point if this creates issues and we need to have, different definitions or different specific wording. Number 15. Things must be kept within the borders of your plot. Commissioner Cohen.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, then seeing none, moving right along. Number 16, it's been revised, so kind of the definition expanded a little bit. Sale of harvest and or use of a plot for commercial purposes is prohibited. Good. 17, plot holders will have seasonal access to hose spigots and must be present at their plots while watering, et cetera there. Commissioner Hay.
Yeah, this is another one that we received a number of comments on.
Okay.
Regarding the difficulty of detaching the hose. It may be difficult for some people to do that. Not only is it, the hoses are heavy, some people commented that attaching it and, detaching it, reattaching it can be damaging to the hose as well. Another person commented about increasing the number of spigots. So I'm curious what people thought about those comments. And, my overall thoughts would be to not require the hoses to be disconnected, but rather to state that the hoses running to the spigots must not be in the path or creating an obstruction. So just making sure that they're keeping those areas tidy.
Does staff have any thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna pull Dave on this one. I don't believe we were able to get a picture of one of our hose spigots today. But Dave, would you talk about a little bit about what that process, maybe how many hose spigots we have, how many gardeners we have, how many you can cover it.
Yeah, so absolutely. To talk to the number of spigots that we have available in the garden, I think there's roughly 5 spigots. We've added these devices on those spigots where you can plug multiple hoses onto a spigot, right? So we have roughly 50 gardeners. We have roughly, this is estimation, 45 hoses permanently attached to 5 spigots. And they're strewn throughout the garden. And so, a lot of them do run along ways, and there will be some issues with having to remove and bring those back each time. However, that said, when you keep your garden hose attached, some people aren't able to connect if their hose isn't attached. There's definitely some spillage that goes along with that, right? Because you have to have a knob that you turn off the individual attachments. And so there could be an opportunity for a gardener to water his garden, and 3 of the other spigots are turned on through that valve. And so you're watering, 5 gardens, and that might be upsetting to some gardeners, and at least it's wasting water and for some people. So it's a difficult topic, but it's also a safety issue, right? If you have 45 hoses that are all over the garden itself, tripping hazards. I think the people that wrote in have had long-standing practices of keeping their hose attached to the spigot, and that's where I think the issue comes from.
Okay, thank you. I changed my thoughts on that based on that additional information. Thank you. I can see the importance of this. I wonder if the final sentence here neatly stored within plot holder's plot. Do we need to specify not causing an obstruction, or, I mean, neatly stored, is that sufficient to capture that they're not in the path, not causing an obstruction? I think that's an important element of it beyond the disconnection of the hose.
Hold that thought. So Councilmember Reynolds has his hand up. And he's on mute.
Sorry, that was an old hand.
Okay. So Commissioner Hay, do you have specific language, or are you just kind of echoing?
Yeah, just curious if anybody has thoughts about whether we need to spell that out, that the hoses cannot be in the path or causing any sort of obstruction, rather than saying neatly stored. Do we want to add a little bit more specificity to that?
If I could just add one thing, what maybe staff's intent to help this conversation. Our intent here is really revolves around safety, as well as reducing user conflict and maintaining access for all to the water. When we say neatly stored within the plot holder's plot, that's inside the boundaries of their plot. At the risk of embarrassment, I did trip over a hose up there, and I do have a grass stain on one of my knees of my brand new jeans, but that's Ryan's rant for the day. But I can't imagine that if we're running the hoses like off the side of the path, we are running those hoses in front of people's entrances into their pea patch. So there may be something, and I think this is one of those things we have to look at as a future opportunity as well for program enhancement, is how do we create an ease of access to the water up there while maintaining that safety. And I think that this is a number 17 here is one that staff really wrestled with, because we know this is a challenge. How people water their plots and the additional effort and work that may go into having to move your hose around is not lost on us, but that is a sort of a challenge, and that's what we were trying to address with the language we had here.
Okay, I'm happy with this as is then, based on that additional information. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Westberg.
Not to belabor this issue, but I did walk up there today and through the pea patch and saw exactly what staff has described and managed not to trip. But I think as a rule, this is going to be an aspirational rule, because people have established practices, and it's going to be very difficult to get them to change those practices. But I think having this in there as that aspiration is a good thing.
Okay, thank you for that. So I think that I get the sense that no change is needed at this point, and staff obviously will work with plot holders to maintain as much safety as possible. Let's see here. We're going to go to number 18, which has already been revised a little bit. Any further comments on this one? Seeing none. Oh, no, excuse me. Commissioner Westberg.
I'm sorry, this is more of a question. So in walking around up there today, I did notice a number of plots that had gravel and stone to define walkways. Are those plot holders going to be asked to remove that material?
That's an excellent question. We will be asking them to remove that material. So this kind of goes to our next phase of the conversation here on how do we do this. We'd be working with them in this particular rule with, say, gravel, stone, those kinds of things. At this point, we would be allowing that to stay up there as long as it's not compacting down and creating pooling or creating what I would consider maybe more environmental issues. The new P-patch holders that come in will not be allowed to bring in these materials. So that's where you have sort of that grandfathering in aspect.
That may be hard to explain or may create a us and them sort of situation up there.
Would the, I don't want to put the commission on the spot, but would the commission be making a recommendation that we require all of them to immediately remove those debris?
Well, that's an operational issue. We don't do operations, remember?
And so I guess I would just push back that our operational decision in this aspect would be to work with individual plot holders.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. We are now going to number 19. Responsible for keeping pathways and fence lines clear and so forth. Commissioner Cohen.
Yeah, Don Cohen, just a comment. I think this one kind of addresses what Ashley was saying before. You can't leave hoses around outside of your plot.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, I think we're getting into the home stretch here. Number 20, permanent structures related installations are prohibited. Commissioner Markson.
Yeah, I think on this one, I was wondering about the relationship between raised beds and permanent structure and what the requirements are when people give up their plot for removing whatever it is they put in. I don't know, to me, a raised bed is pretty darn permanent because there's a lot of stuff in there. So anyway,
Okay.
maybe let me get my question. Let me make it a question that you can answer.
Okay.
If we have a raised bed, we're allowing raised beds, so we're considering it not permanent. So who's responsible for removing it?
Excellent question. The P-patch holder is responsible for removing all of their items when they give up their plot, so to speak. Whenever they decide that they don't want to be a part of the P-patch program anymore, they're responsible for that removal. Differentiating it between a permanent structure, I think we're calling it out as a separate item, that it's a permitted, allowed item, because we're allowing it to go up to 30 inches. And there's a reason we're doing that. It's for an individual who may have mobility issues or can't get down on their hands and knees. This creates a higher level, and that falls within the ADA guidance that we looked up on this topic specifically for raised beds. What we're really trying to stay away from is the structure aspect that is not related to gardening. As maybe we saw with some installations over this last year, there were large structures that were created that didn't necessarily have anything to do with the cultivation of their plot.
Okay, so then if I'm understanding you correctly, in 22, the raised bed, actually, you're recognizing that it's a permanent structure and it wouldn't have to be removed if they gave up their plot.
It would have to be anything within their plot they have to remove at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, they have to return that to basically the condition that it was when they received the plot, which 20 years ago, who knows what it really looked like. Staff anticipates a level of assistance being required in that transition, though.
Do you think it's necessary to put a rule in that says the expectations for when plot holders give up a plot? Like the expectation, I thought there was one in here that said you had to remove everything, but I was just looking and couldn't find it. So anyway, maybe it's not in the rules and it's somewhere else, but it's not really clear in here that what the expectations are for when you give up a plot.
Yeah, that's something staff had contemplated. We're going to be putting that into more of the how-to and the how the program works, as opposed to the rules. So it'd be that more of that transitional process.
Okay. I guess one other thing to consider then, not to belabor this too much, is that in 22, you might state that a raised bed is not considered a permanent structure. Just for, in case people are thinking about doing it and just want to make sure they know they'll have to remove it eventually if they give up their plot. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on 20? Seeing none. 21 regarding prior approval for raised beds. I think we kind of referred to that. Oh, Commissioner Westberg.
Well, this one, I just thought there was an excellent suggestion that instead of requiring approval for raised bed structures up to 30 inches, is just say those are okay. And approval would be needed for any that exceeded 30 inches in height. Because when walking around there today, I'd say a majority of the plots had raised bed structures in them. There were none that seemed like they were 30 inches high or even close to that. But do you really want to go back and have to go through the process of approving all those, or can't you just say you can put them in up to 30 inches? If you want to go above 30 inches, then that has to be reviewed and approved because it could have impacts on neighboring plots.
Staff's feel on that. This was another one we discussed at length. What we found in practice is if you don't require approval, you often find situations. I'm trying to say this in a easy manner. You find situations that are much more difficult and time consuming to walk back. As we kind of encountered this summer, when that was built and it became excessive, had we followed our process of approval, we could have said, yeah, no problem, this looks good. Or maybe you misinterpreted this is the rule, as opposed to trying to go backwards and have somebody who's invested a great amount of money into their plot have to tear pieces out. So this was sort of a checkpoint for staff to be able to say, yeah, that looks like that fits within our guidelines. That's a great way to move forward. Or, hey, you're planning on excavating a side of this hillside and putting in a raised bed. That's not something that's going to be allowed in this case. So for us, it was being putting in a situation that we could be proactive as staff in collaborating with the individual on their plans for their plot.
Okay, I mean, I looked at that and was trying to save staff time, because unless you're just going to grandfather in everything that's there already, because I understand your concern based on what transpired this summer, but a raised bed is not the same as an art installation.
True. I guess the other aspect would be a raised bed around the perimeters of the entire site, bringing in additional material. I guess I want to know what their intent is so I can help, or so that our team can help alleviate any potential issues that could occur by just being proactive, like we would do anywhere else.
Okay, I buy that.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to number 22, temporary trellises may not exceed 6 feet. Okay, seeing no comments. 23, following items are prohibited: painted, stained building materials, netting, et cetera, et cetera. Identification markers. Any comments on that one? Okay, almost done. Oh, Commissioner Westberg.
No, mine's on the next one.
Okay, all right. So on number 24, plot fencing. Go ahead.
So just a question, why was 6 feet chosen as the allowable height?
That aligns with the with what we saw with many other community gardens. but also it aligns with our city code with what's permitted for backyard and side yard fence heights.
Oh, really? Okay, because
Yeah.
yeah, 6 feet won't keep deer out. And there's nothing more disheartening for a gardener to see all their hard work go into the tummy of a deer. But I know from experience this summer. Okay, thanks for that explanation.
All right. And last but not least, number 25, city staff may prohibit installations, plantings, etc., that do not align with P-patch objectives. Commissioner Markson.
Hi, Commissioner Markson. I guess this wasn't based on the comments that I saw, but I wondered, given the kind of concerns around fencing, if the city considered putting in posts so that people could connect fencing if they want, or not connect fencing if they want, because I guess I'm trying to picture these fences of the size of the plot, which are pretty big, without posts that are in concrete. I don't know if that's a problem or not, but anyway, just a consideration. I don't know if you thought of that.
Excellent point. And it was kind of, we kind of, last meeting, we talked a little bit about fencing and what are our opportunities and that kind of thing. I would say from a staffing or from a city resource standpoint, we really don't have the ability to provide that level of service to each P-patch of putting in posts and having them attached to that. Not to say that's not something that could occur in the future or be recommended perhaps through a master planning process with Luther Burbank Park, putting in a pitch there for some things to think about when we go forward. The current setup up there, you have a lot of people have used 4x4 posts, and we haven't dug down to see what they're held in with, but a lot of them, from what I could tell, were just set into the dirt, which lasts for a period of years before that post gives up, so to speak. So that's sort of how it's working now with those 4x4 posts. Other individuals have used more of a stake structure where they hammer in the stakes and attach to that. So those are kind of the current usages that we're seeing right now, which quite honestly seems to be working fairly well up there. You can definitely see a difference maybe in the craftsmanship of individuals, and some may not have that experience that others do, and that kind of shows some of the potential dilapidation of fences that are up there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Then we've got a warning regarding kind of behavior in general and a security notice. Any thoughts on that? Again, Commissioner Markson.
Sorry, I have one more comment. I just wondered if, you have that rule about it has to be cultivated by May 1st, and you may just consider putting that into the rules up front. Maybe it's in the how-to manual, but it seems like a pretty critical piece of information.
Yeah, I would look to the commission if they felt that adding that, and it will definitely be in our our timeline of how the program works, so that people will know that critical date. If it felt like it was something that the commissioners desired to have in the rules, I would have no issue with that. But I mean, everybody who goes into the program is going to know exactly this date, as well as February 1st and the registration dates.
So Commissioner Markson, do you want to propose something along those lines, or?
Well, yeah, I guess maybe I should expand on it a tiny bit more. It seems, they also reading the comments, the hammers kind of big on this one for May 1st. And often summer in Seattle doesn't start till July 15th, though lately it's not like that. So maybe I would suggest two things. One would be to just make the May 1st rule as clear as possible, if that's the rule, like in multiple places. And then the second thing would be to maybe have a little more grace than just one warning in 2 weeks and you're out. So I don't know if I wanna, those would be my two proposals. I don't know how long, but maybe two warnings within 4 weeks, something like that.
Okay, we'll hold that. Commissioner Westberg, did you have a comment on this matter?
I had a question mainly in that, Ryan, when you say cultivated here or uncultivated, that doesn't mean it has to be planted. It just has to be, someone has to be present, someone has to be working the plot, getting the weeds out, and all of that. And that recognizes the fact that in our climate, a lot of things can't be planted as early as May 1, but you can begin the preparation for that purpose.
That's exactly staff's intent, is that by May 1st, we're seeing action in these plots, and that we call it spring cleanup is taking place. And we're ready for the growing season. What can be challenging is when those plots don't get addressed, and now you have weeds growing all over the place. If we get, a warm weekend in May, all of a sudden everything's sprouting up, and then you have that going over into other people's plots. That's really why we've established that date. Is not that your plot, and in no aspect is anybody's plot going to be perfect, and we're not even close to wanting that to be an expectation. But what we do want is to see active care of those sites, and that's what we're trying to convey here. We also, to the point of non-compliance, there's the non-compliance part, and then there's the lack of the communication part. Unfortunately, the amount of time that Dave has spent this last year trying to just communicate with people and get a response like, hey, we literally were trying to help you. How can we help you? And to get nothing and then not comply is a bit of a challenge on the program at times. And so we're really trying to clean that up and iron out those expectations. And as one of the commenters sent in, what's the expectation of the service the city is going to provide? That's just as important as everything we're talking about here. What's that level of service? And that's what, once we finish up these rules, that's what we're really going to itemize out, so that there is a clear understanding by everybody. And we're not looking to be the P-patch police, P-patch plot police or anything. We're, this is a positive, this is a great program. It's how can we all make it flourish, I should say.
So Ryan, to Commissioner Markson's suggestion of having perhaps more than one written warning or a longer notification period, or you kind of talked a little bit about it, but maybe more specifically, is that something that, obviously it requires more work on the city staff perspective if you're giving multiple notifications and so forth.
Yeah, if there's a recommendation, if the commission would rather more leniency, and again, this is being notified. We're not necessarily doing anything yet. It's notifying you, and I guess staff's opinion is within 14 days you should be able to get back to us and let us and have us collaborate on how we can get these concerns addressed. And if a longer period of time was desired, I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to that. It's the longer period of time requires more staff time to address them.
So Commissioner Markson,
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And given, like you said, the workload of trying to be the P-patch police, maybe it's, they people want these plots, they're paying for them, you would think that they would at least be able to respond. So I think I won't.
Okay,
I take back that comment.
all right, thank you. Vice Chair Bursey.
This is Paul Burstein. Just a quick question. Do you do any type of broad communication to the plot holders, like beginning of the season, end of season? Just a blast out to everybody who's in the P patch?
I can take that one, Ryan. Yeah, absolutely. So we, communicate at the good example, this past week, we had a harvest party that's blasted out to everyone. After that, we thank them for coming, and then we talk about adding to the this conversation, right? That's why we have everyone writing in the comments. I'll reach back out to I would say on a monthly and sometimes more than that basis. I do a newsletter that goes out monthly throughout the summer. And often at the beginning, we talk about the expectations, the rules, they get passed on and make sure everyone's aware of those. And then we get them back in the spring to say, hey, the planting season's coming up. The expectation would be the May 1st date. So we're constantly trying to communicate with our gardeners.
So given that there's the continued communication and understanding of what's ahead, I think with all of that, and then you get one written warning should be sufficient. So I'm in favor of just leaving it as is.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Commissioner Markson, I think, agrees with that after the discussion. So unless there's one final opportunity, I'd like to ask for a motion to endorse the PPASH community garden rules as we've modified them this evening.
So
Anybody willing
moved.
to make-
I will make that motion. So
Thank
moved.
you, Commissioner Hay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was
Jody.
Commissioner.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jen. Okay. So there's been a motion by Commissioner Hay and a second by Commissioner McCarthy. Any final comments? Seeing or hearing none. Commissioners, please turn on your microphones and will city staff please conduct a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Westberg,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Chair Struck,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen, Commissioner Cohen. Oh, looks like we may have
You may have
lost.
dropped.
Yeah. Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Markson.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair.
The motion passes. Thank you all. Appreciate all the hard work and comments. The fifth item of business is the 2023 planning schedule update. And once again, I ask on Director Daly to provide the update.
All right. First of all, thank you for that that conversation. I appreciate you gritting it out and allowing us to walk through the PPATCH rules. I think that we're in a much better spot as we go forward and communicate these to our participants and our prospective participants. It's extremely helpful to staff and in the quality of the program that we'll offer. So thank you for the time we dedicated to that tonight. Planning schedule, just to call out a couple of items. I anticipate at the November 2nd meeting that we'll be bringing forward a draft of a sponsorship policy. This will be an initial look and the outcome of that conversation, or probably multiple conversations, will hopefully be a recommendation from the Parks Commission to the City Council to adopt that policy. And so more information will come. We'll get you those draft materials early so that you can review that document. We can talk a little bit deeper on that. The other thing, and I'm anticipating this coming forward in November, is our parks code is very out of date. It was last updated, I believe, back in the 90s. So this is an opportunity for the commission to start discussing what should be permitted within our parks spaces, as well as to get some community input on that. And that'll be a recommendation as well that will go to the city council as an update, probably sometime in, I'm going to guess Q3 of 2024. So we've got a period of time to work on this. We're going to take our time, but it's something for us to start thinking about as we go forward. Additionally, we will have the some updates in December, and that will be on the recreation implementation of policies that we've developed over probably the last 2 years. So staff's planning to provide an update to the commission and possible recommendations for updates. I'll say that the work that staff as well as the commission did on a lot of these policies have worked out really, really well, specifically for the community center and our athletic fields. So we'll have some information that we'll provide, and it's also an opportunity for our community members. If there's things, and staff will be reaching out to some of the user groups, if there's things that we should be thinking about changing that are adversely affecting them, this is a great time to bring those things forward. I think being nimble with our policies and being able to evaluate the impacts after the fact is really important. So look forward for that in December. We'll also provide an update on the overall work plan for the recreation division, as well as a CIP project update, and look forward to 2024. So we can kind of share with the commission what that timeline looks like, so that you're all aware of maybe what's happening behind the scenes with some of these projects. What you didn't receive in your planning schedule update is the 2024 planning schedule. I'm going to be working with Chief of Operations Jason Kittner to plug in. We have some major master plan items that's going to occupy much of the commission's time in 2024. We have some playground installations that'll occur. There's going to be some public forum needs that we're going to utilize the commission for there. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to have the park code updates. So it's looking like still a busy 2024, but I'm hoping to map that out really cleanly so that we know what those touch points are going into the year. Speaking of going backwards to that December meeting, I am going to reach out to the commission with a doodle poll to figure out what date may work best for all of us. December can be a tough month for all of us. But that meeting date of December 7th is the first night of Hanukkah. So we're going to be moving that meeting, and I'll work with all of you to find out what the most appropriate date might be. But that is the story on the planning schedule at this point.
The sixth item of business is commissioner reports, work plan updates, and any planned absences from future meetings that you're aware of. So commissioners, do you have anything to report? I think I wore you all out. Thank you very much. So the time is now 7:22. And one thing first, excuse me. The next regular Parks and Rec Commission meeting is November 2nd, 2023 at 5 p.m. And the time is now 7:23, and the meeting is adjourned. However, as a reminder to commissioners, please stay seated until the city staff has terminated the Zoom broadcast. Good evening and stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much.